Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah amma ba'd fa'auzu billahi minash shaitani rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli fazkuruni azkurkum washkuru li wa la takfurun sadaqallahul azim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Firstly, apologies, we couldn't obviously have the session last week due to an issue with the mosque. Just asking sisters, were they aware there was no session? Did the message go out? That's fine. So obviously, just very quickly recapping what we discussed a couple of weeks ago. We outlined obviously the path to hell, which is the title of the thing, but we also discussed what the ideas would be in terms of path to paradise, and we got some of the answers which we expected, that everyone thought the path to paradise is Salah, Zakat, Hajj, fasting, and so forth. And really then, it was then put to us that well, if that really is the path to paradise, where did Shaitan go wrong? Because he worshipped way more than anyone else. There's not a place on earth where he has not done sajda. So he was one of the greatest worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet really he is the worst of all in terms of that. So that really then makes us think, what is actually the path to paradise? Because if we know the path to paradise, then it should become obvious what is the path to hell. But I think we probably take the example from Shaitan. Even ourselves, we think if that's the path to paradise, then we may not fully understand what the path to hell is, kind of thing. So one of the first ones we very briefly discussed, basically this diagram shows these stepping stones. So the purpose of this was that really you're not going to end up in hellfire generally overnight. Yes, there are single acts sometimes which can take us to hellfire and vice versa, but generally for most people there'll be a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Just in case, let's say, I don't know, you want to build muscles, it's not going to happen overnight. You want to lose weight, it's not going to happen overnight. You want to become a doctor, it's not going to happen overnight. There's stepping stones to everything from that perspective. So really, just then really elaborating on other steps really which are to the path to hell, and we have what's called following the crowd. Now, if I ask most people in this room, put your hand up if you follow the crowd, I won't ask you. I know no one's going to put their hands up. So who is following the crowd? If it's not us here, who is doing it? You know, I suppose if you had a room of 1,000 people here, not a single person will put their hand up and say, I'm following the crowd. Because why? We all think, no, that's not us. It's somebody else. We're not like that. We're not a sheep kind of thing, yeah. But as he said, if you had, 10 million people here, I suspect, again, nobody will put their hand up. So then who is following the crowd? Really, we have to sometimes think it is probably us following the crowd, but we're not necessarily realizing it. Now, certain aspects, how are we following the crowd? What we're doing. And let's just take some examples we use, let's say in Deen, in our daily weddings. A classic example of following the crowd. It has to be a certain hall, has to be a certain stage, there has to be a certain amount of events. The dress of the girl who's getting married, has to be from a certain designer, and vice versa, and stuff like that. And the most obvious probably example now is maybe 25 years ago, you'd be lucky if you had somebody had one Ferrari at a wedding. Now, it's a standard, isn't it? Everyone's got 10 Ferraris or 10 Lamborghinis. No one bats an eyelid, really. We've seen them all before, whether it's red, yellow, green, Lamborghini. We've seen them all, haven't we? So realistically, you think, why are people doing that? They're all just following the crowd because every, wedding has now 10 Lamborghinis, 10 Range Rovers, and that's what we're doing. We're just following the crowd. And that is why the cost of weddings are going up and up and up, because we're all trying to follow the crowd. What is accepted now, as you said? Are we really going to have, let's say, the traditional style wedding where it used to be long tables and plastic plates and stuff like that, and the brothers of the person who's getting married, their friends, they would be serving, and vice versa? No one's going to do that. If anything, we went to a wedding like that, we ourselves be thinking, what's up with these people? Why are they so backward? Why are they so archaic, kind of thing? But then if you look at it, why do we think that? Because we're following the crowd, aren't we, from that perspective? Even you look at deaths now, as he said, and look, I'm not saying anything, I'm not making a distinction what's halal and haram. You can have 10 Lamborghinis at your wedding. I've not said it's haram. No one's going to give a fatwa it's haram. But you just got to have to think about it, Even with deaths, as you said, because somebody dies, you want to put flowers, that's fine. But, certain weddings I've been, let's say it's a man who's died, there's a, dad spelt in flowers, then brother, then uncle kind of thing, and thousands of pounds are being spent on flowers necessarily kind of thing. And you just think, why are people doing this? Did we do this 10, 15, 20 years ago as such? No, again, what we're doing is, because everyone's doing it, we're following the crowd. And generally, if you just generally look at our life circle, it follows a certain kind of step in terms of we go to school, we need good GCSEs. Why? Because we need to get into the right A levels. We then need good A level results because we need to get into good university and a good degree. Why? Because that will lead to a good job. If I get a good job, what's that going to lead to? A better spouse and so forth. And then, once you get married, you have to have the right house because the kids have got to go to the right schools and so forth and so forth. So really, what we're doing, we're all just following that standard kind of thing line. But really, what's the end game? Traditionally, our elders, maybe from 30, 40 years, their plan was, I think, they thought they were going to go back home one day, yet they're still here. They thought once they married all their kids off, they'll be relaxed in peace. Maybe ask any 60-year-old, 70-year-old, they're still dealing with their kid issues and, issues in marriage kind of thing. So the point we're trying to say is, when people are doing right things, why is it not, there's a massive crowd going towards that? Why is it only a few people are doing that? Sometimes you just have to think that, hold on, generally the crowd runs towards shaitan and wrong things and desires and stuff. But really, where is the crowd running towards the right things? The brother will know why masjid is not full at Fajr Salah. It's literally a handful of the community. Literally, you probably count them, most masjids, apart from the big ones, you're going to get, as he said, 10 namazis, 12 namazis from that perspective. But no one's following that kind of crowd. We're all following the crowd of, we're all asleep, we're too lazy to come to masjid, and so forth. And, traditionally, anything that we do in terms of even, women and dressing, what do? They follow the crowd most of the time. They can't wear, you'll have to forgive me, sister, you won't wear the same suit at the secretary weddings. Why? Because you know that the other sisters will know that you wore that at this wedding kind of thing, so it's on your mind. So hence, that's why, you have Nelson Bazaar, don't you? It's a small town, but look at our bazaar, how big it is. I'm sure there's not one in Wolverhampton that big, is there? So, really, it's just that having that look, we really got to stop following the crowd. It's not cool. It's usually not the right way kind of thing. And, as I said, nobody wants to be a sheep, but almost, as you said, subconsciously, we're content with being a sheep. We just can't bring ourselves to say that, look, I'm part of the crowd, I'm a sheep, I just follow whatever the trend is and stuff like that. I'm not going to go against a trend and so forth. So the next one is false ideals and role models. So sometimes when we hear this, no one's saying that, look, we're worshipping a statue at home of Buddha or stuff like that. Them days are kind of thing gone. But really, what are now the false ideals and role models? And even I think role models is something very difficult because again, if I say somebody asked 20, 30 years ago, who did you follow? You might follow the footballer. Let's say I think David Beckham got them, is it called tram lines? Yeah, I'm showing my age. Everyone started doing that kind of thing, yeah. I'm not going to tell you whether I did it or not. But you see, look, those were the role models in them days. Now, who are the role models of today? Anyone got any ideas? Heather, you can look down away, but...
I was looking at the camera.
MashaAllah. Go on then. So tell me, who would be a role model today? Let's say you're someone young. Who's a role model for you?
Like footballer.
Anyone. Do you have a role model?
I don't think so.
Okay. Does anyone have a role model? And nobody needs to put a hand up and say, yeah, Rasulullah sallam. Obviously, we all know that's our role model, but do we actually follow it? That's a different question. So even this idea of role models doesn't necessarily exist. We can't say, look, I follow one person, But look, what I'm saying is look at, basically, I'll tell you, if you go on your social media profile, look at the type of accounts you're following. If you're following just footballers, that means, generally those are your kind of role models. If you're following these YouTube stars, these pranksters or whatever they are, those are your role models. If you're following designers or these women's and kind of thing, those are really your own, because why are you following them? So you'll notice that most people you follow, there's a certain type of person you're following. from that perspective. And that really, if you think about it, is kind of your role model. Now, if you wanted to go to London, and let's say you set out, you go in your car, and you join the M6 and you start going towards Preston, Glasgow, then you're not necessarily going to end up there. Clearly, obviously, if you go around the right on the M6 or the M1, you will end up at London. So if we then look at this idea in terms of role models or false ideals, if we're following that subconsciously, where we're going to end up? We are following these false ideals in our life, these kind of role models who are bad for us in that sense. So don't sometimes think, oh, I've got no role models. Tika, I'm not saying you have a specific role model and that's the only person you follow per se. But look at your social media accounts, what type of accounts you generally follow, what type of people are you generally following. If it's just following, clothes designers, that means that you're really interested in clothes and what the latest clothes are. So really, if you think about it, that's a kind of a false ideal, isn't it? Tika, there's nothing wrong with wearing the nice and the best clothes. No one's saying that. But really, is the maqsad always that I have to get the best suit or the best clothing, better than anyone, before anyone, and then people will look at me and say, wow, look at her or look at him, and so forth. And if you just look again at these social media stars, Tika, you may be following them, but what are you getting out of them? I'll tell you what they're getting out of you. They're obviously getting likes and views, and what's that doing? It's earning money for them, isn't it? So they're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to capture your attention, how to make sure these algorithms work. Because look, their aim is not necessarily to create followers. It's a simple thing. They just want money. And the way they can get more views, they'll happily do it. And that's why, as he said, you get all these YouTube pranksters. Why? Because, kids like Adam will watch them all day long, as he said. So that's a reality of it, because people watch them and they will do more and more stunts because that's what people want. So just the wrong and narrow way of life. So just have a think about this one. If you just talk to the person next to you in twos, what do you think when I say people have a wrong or a narrow way of life? Just have a talk for 30 seconds between yourself, and I will invite some answers. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think we started with the sister. Let's start with the brothers in. A wrong way of life. When I'm saying a wrong way of life, I don't necessarily need the answer, or you're following a sinful way of life, because that's quite obvious, isn't it? So anyone got any ideas what a wrong, or let's say a narrow way of life would be? Yes, young man.
I think a narrow path in life is like when you
You're going to have to speak up, I'm deaf, so.
I think a narrow path in life is like when you follow the wrong path and shaitan crooks your mind and body.
MashaAllah, like I said, yeah. I can see you studying about another 10 years or so, inshallah, yeah. Sisters, anything on that in terms of a narrow way of life? So don't be shy, go on.
Louder.
I think a narrow and having a wrong way of life is when you're following disbelievers and you're having a short life.
Yes, good answer, as he said. Just again, taking a step back from that, ask yourself the question, what is my view of life? How do I see life? What is the purpose of my life? What's the bigger picture? Am I just worried about what's happening today? Have I got a bigger picture of life? Am I just living in the moment? You have to ask just these things. Look, traditionally, let's say the English people in this country, traditionally they used to work all year so they could just get 2 weeks holiday in Spain. And they were happy with that. They get the time off at Christmas and they were happy with that. And that was just literally their life, isn't it? That all they would do is work for their 2 weeks in Mallorca, get their Christmas off, and just follow. And that's literally their purpose of their life, as he said. But we as Muslims, we have to have a bigger picture. And when we don't have that bigger picture, when we're not thinking about really what's happening tomorrow or next week or next year or the next 10 years, then this is what I mean. This is a stepping stone. So when you're just living in the moment, then you really have this kind of narrow way of life. And what I'm saying is, obviously have to look at what's going to happen tomorrow. Tika, don't go overboard. Again, like with everything, there's a balance. Some people are saving so much today for this rainy day, that which never comes, that death may overtake him today. There's plenty of elders who've said, I'm building a koti back home. They've died before it's been built, as he said. Why? They've saved their whole life, and that was going to be their thing, and death took him. But what I'm saying really is that your abode is the grave and the hereafter. And that really is the bigger picture of life. Hold on. That is really my target, my aim. What am I doing for that? Because look, we all do it for our careers. We study at GCSEs, A-levels, university, you name it, we'll do it. But yet, on other things, we'll keep a very narrow way of life as such. Now, following ego, we went through the story of Shaitan really last time. And really, Shaitan was really about I, me, mine. That's all he was bothered about. Now, Shaitan, did he want Allah? What do people think? Yes, no? Sisters, did he want Allah? Yes. Brothers, do you agree on that? Do they think they're wrong? So they did want Allah, you sure? Yes. So Shaitan did want Allah. And he still wants Allah. But where did he go wrong then? Go on, sister.
Arrogance.
He did go wrong, but just in terms he wanted Allah, what's wrong with that? Do we not want Allah? So where does the arrogance come in? Sorry, say that again. Probably in one sense he did, yeah, that he wanted to be, let's say, ahead of the queue of Prophet Adam Islam. Really, where Shaitan went wrong was, whilst he wanted Allah, he didn't want what Allah wanted for him. What did Allah want for him? To bow down to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. But he didn't want that. Allah wanted that for him, but he didn't want that, and that's where he failed. Now, what does Allah want for us? We know Allah wants goodness for us. We know Allah wants us to get into Jannah. But yet it's about what we want. And this is where we really are on a stepping stone towards Shaitan, when it's, what do I want? What is it what I want to do? And this happens, forget even the dunya, this happens even in deen. People say, let's give an example of Ramzan. I want to finish 3 Qurans in Ramzan. All well and good. No one's saying there's anything wrong with that. But are we controlling our tongue at the same time? Are we controlling our gazes at the same time? Are we overeating in Ramadan? That's what Allah wants. He doesn't want us to overeat. He wants us to lower our gazes. He wants us to control our tongues. But no, it's easy to read, let's say, 3 Qurans and say to people, MashaAllah, look, I read 3 Qurans, as you said, and so forth. So then again, you have to just have that mindset. Don't think about what I want, because your nafs will gravitate towards what you want. So even reading Quran, you'll think, yeah, I do want to read the Quran kind of thing. I do want to read the Quran. But actually, I don't want to control my tongue in Ramadan. And so really, again, we're doing on a lower level what Shaitan did. And so really, it's a stepping stone. So it's quite a key point in this, in terms of just having that mindset, because as I said, even in deen, we pick and choose what we want. We'll follow certain sunnahs when they're easy for us. The difficult sunnahs we don't want to. So really, just think about doing them things that actually the inside doesn't want to, and you basically are doing the things that against your nafs. So that inner thing, I'm going to go against it, that plan. If you're just going to follow the nafs and the desires, and remember, this can happen in matters of deen. Let's say many are alim or muftis kind of thing. They want so many followers. They want recognition. They want the whole room to stand up and TK. Look, these are respectful people. But if they want it, then it's wrong for them, innit? It's a different thing. We get up naturally out of respect for them. But if they're wanting it, and so forth kind of thing, then basically you just have to think, is it really what they want? And they're ignoring what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted. So loving the dunya and indulgence in unlawful pleasures of life. If I asked a question, maybe it's probably a bit strong if I said, does everyone love their life? Maybe you're probably going to say, because maybe we've not got no billionaires in the room who could say, yeah, I'm loving my life. I've got a yacht here, I've got this, I've got that kind of thing, yeah. But really, we all want them attractions, don't we? We want the bigger houses, we want the nicer cars, we want the best clothes, we want to have the best profiles, we want the best in everything. But do we want to be the best worshipper in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Does that ever come into our thoughts? No. So what we're doing is, we are, loving the dunya. And really, you're attracted to it and you're pulled towards it. Now, has anyone got their card with them today? A debit card or anything? No one carries it now, do they? So everyone's on. Go on, Abu Bakr, are you going to get one out your pocket? Oh, mashallah, this is it. No one carries cards, in it. Oh, you got a card? Give me the pin for it as well. Huh? See why? Now look, you won't even give me your pin. He's not stupid. He's thinking, why am I going to give him the pin, kind of thing. Now, when we're talking about loving the dunya, love is a very valuable thing. And what are we doing to it? We're giving it towards the dunya things. We're going after the desires of dunya. Really, when we should be loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but yet that love, we're giving it to the dunya. It's such a valuable thing. Even let's say a husband and wife, one commits to zina, what they're doing, they're giving that love to someone else, which is completely wrong. When where should it be? With their spouse. And so, now we've often also heard that we should love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than ourselves, more than our children, more than our parents. We all know that hadith, we've all heard it, yes? Do we actually do it in practice? If we said deep down, do we actually love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than my spouse, more than my kids? Then, if we're not doing that. Now, also, does anyone know why we should love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than ourselves, our spouse, our kids? I'll take a hands on this one. There must be a reason, yes? So how are we going to love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than ourselves when we don't even know why?
Maybe Allah's commanded it?
It's a yes and no. Yeah, it's a good answer. But just because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do it, are you? So really why we should love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is this. That when an issue happens and we have option A, which is against the sunnah, and option B, which is in line with the sunnah, we'll go for following in sunnah. Because if you love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than anything, you'll always follow the sunnah. So when you have them options of the sunnah, and people again will say, oh, it's only sunnah, I don't need to follow it. Correct? I'm not saying from that sense, it's not a fard act, everyone accepts that. But if we genuinely say we love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than ourselves, more than our parents, more than our children, that's really the purpose. So when that issue comes, that we follow the path of sunnah and we don't go against the sunnah. So if there's a wedding that's coming up and it's not in line with the sunnah, what are we supposed to do? Really want to go to that, wedding. There might be dole players, there might be this, the boys are kind of thin, the sisters are doing the dolki nights, the sisters are doing the dancing at the mendi. Yes, it's all going to be fun and games, as you said. Now, put that love for Rasulullah, where is it? When you're making that decision to follow the crowd and do because what you want to do. Now look, I'm not saying you are going to get these desires, and that's not necessarily inherently wrong. It's what you do about them desires is where you're really going against them. So that is why we are said that we should learn to love Rasulullah more, because when we have that extreme love for sunnah, it won't matter. When that wedding invite comes in against sunnah, it won't matter. Because that love trumps everything else. Any brothers who are married, You know, if you love a wife so much, another woman comes, you won't bat an eyelid. Why? Because you love her more than anything. Sense of immortality. I think we'll have to use this as the last one for today in terms of timing. So the sense of immortality is this concept that we think, really, we're never going to die. Now, we all know we're going to die, yes? Anyone who doesn't believe in this room? If you do believe you're not going to die, I'll book you an appointment with the doctor in the morning. We all know we're going to die. But do we act like, are our actions, our thoughts consistent with the idea that we are actually? No, there's a clear disconnect for everyone. It's probably the most certain thing that's going to happen to us. We all know we are going to die. There's no doubt about that in anyone's mind. No one has got aspirations that, I'm a billionaire, then maybe they're going to develop some kind of technology or science or whatever that's going to keep me living forever. We all know that's a given. But yet we have almost this idea that we are, I've got lots of time. And I think that I find even you talk to 60, 70-year-olds, they maybe are thinking like a 30, 40-year-old. They don't even think they're at death's door. They think they're still going to live. Because when you look at their conduct and actions, you think, well, surely you're probably closer to death's door than myself. But I don't see any, change in action. No fear that, the grave might be coming. That, we should all have it because no one can guarantee. I can't guarantee I'll be here tomorrow morning. No one can give that guarantee. But having this sense of, immortality really affects our actions. And again, it's this, it's a stepping stone for really shaitan, that we are living like we are never going to die. So really, we're actually not bothered about what's going to happen in the grave, because generally our actions are consistent with something that we're going to just keep on living and living and living. And that hisab, or that, day of reckoning, yes, I know it's coming, it's in the future, but I'll get around to it. It's like the thing we do sometimes have in our life, whether it's a work task, a house task, or whatever it is. Yeah, I'll get it done, but you never get it done. But that task is there and it's constantly there, but you're just not doing it because you think, I'll get it done one day, and that day never comes from that perspective. And we'll just do one final one now. So living in the moment. This really is just, again, not bothering about that point we made about not bothering about what's going to go on tomorrow. But the reality, as I said, is we do live in the moment for certain aspects, but in other aspects, we are planning for tomorrow. We're all accumulating assets. We're all thinking about tomorrow, do I need to have a career and stuff? So, yes, we are living in the moment, and when you're committing sins, you are living in the moment because you have no reckoning that, hold on, if I die tonight, what's going to happen tomorrow? If my sahab is done tomorrow, what am I actually going to do? So I think we'll just leave that just to basically sum up. These are all kind of stepping stones. You may be on some of these stones yourselves. You may not be on fully all the stones. So don't think you have to in every single stone. But, we probably know from stepping stones, you can sometimes miss one and still get the other one. So all may apply to you. Some of these apply to you. But really, these are the warning signals for us in our mind. These are the alarm bells be going. Am I really on the path towards hell? Because that's what we've turned up to these sessions for, is I wanted to know, am I on the path to hell? If I know I'm on the path to hell and I'm being told I'm on the path to hell, it doesn't mean change will happen, but maybe the penny will drop for us during this 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks that we are on the path to hell. So, Jazakallah khairan. Any questions before we conclude for tonight? I know Heather's keen to get to watch the football, so Heather, can you stay back for another half an hour, yeah? ठीक है, Jazakallah khair everyone for attending. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun. Assalamu alaikum.